People often ask me if people in Canada are as nice as they come across to be, and honestly, the environment truly is like just a really like uplifting environment.
What is your favorite holiday or tradition?
Now, this isn't strictly Canadian, but I love Christmas at my grandmother's house. She every year she cooks up this like amazing grand meal. She has ham, she has mac and cheese, she has potatoes, sweet potatoes, like everything you could possibly imagine. All of my dad's family squeezes into this tiny little house. It used to be a tradition where she buys pajamas every year, and then we go and we try them on, and we go home in them, and we put out cookies for Santa, and it was just like, it's my favorite thing to look forward to every year. And every year we go on Christmas Eve, and I've been like lucky enough to be able to go back to Canada over the break to still experience that and be with my family. This past year, we always do games every year for prizes, and my grandpa wanted to include his own game this year, which wasn't for a prize, but everyone drew a little piece of paper, and it had one line of the 12 Days of Christmas on it, and when it came to your part, you had to sing it. And my dad, he got the 5 golden rings line, and my dad is just known for being like the craziest person in the family. Like, he's just like so out there and like goofy and funny, so every single time he got the line, he was just saying it in a different voice. Everyone was cracking up and dying. It was like something I'll never forget. It was really, really fun. My mom and my dad grew up on like different ends of the town. They met each other through like mutual friends in high school. My dad grew up in like a more like rundown area. My mom was more kind of like the richer area. And my dad, he played basketball growing up, and he's like one of like the most famous, like not famous, but for our area famous basketball players like where I grew up. He was one of the top 10 basketball players in Windsor during his time. And my mom, she played a variety of sports growing up. I got the volleyball gene from her. She played when she was younger. She also played soccer and baseball, and they were both very athletic people. Something that some people think is funny, at my old school, the popular guys at my school were the hockey guys. And so we had a hockey team, and like they were like, instead of like the football people, it was like the hockey people. They were like the go-to popular ones that everyone wanted to be. We go to their hockey games and watch them play, and it's not quite the same thing here. So I think that's kind of interesting.
How does money go?
Oh my gosh. Okay. My favorite thing in the world is Canadian money. I wish I had some with me because I could show you, but basically, we used to have paper money, but it was always colored. So like the 5s are blue, the 10s are purple, the 20s are green, 50s are red, so on and so forth. It's very easy to find in your wallet. I just think like if I open up my wallet, I can see the colors of what's in there, and it's just easy to pick out what it is, versus American money, it's all green. I have to look at the number. It's just much more of a hassle. But recently they switched to plastic money, so it's actually waterproof. It's almost unrippable. Like it takes a lot of effort to actually rip it in half, so it's like near indestructible almost. So like it's much less likely that you'll get your money ruined by spilling water on it and things like that. And we also, instead of $1 bills, we have $1 coins and $2 coins. They're called loonies and toonies. People always laugh at the name of them. I love them so much. I just think they're like a lot. I just like them a lot more than dollar bills. I really do. Canada is not quite like the 4th of July. I know the 4th of July is very, very patriotic. I hadn't been in the United States for 4th of July before, and it's very different. It's a much bigger celebration. Canada is much more low-key, but we did have a big celebration on our 150th. We had a huge parade downtown. My dad and I went. My brother was in the parade for his football team.
Hey, Julian!
We all dressed up in Canada gear. We got our Tim Hortons, and we were just sitting downtown watching all the parade floats go by, and that was a really cool day.
They don't know if they're coming or going.
The whole country runs on Tim Hortons pretty much. It's basically similar to Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts, but in my opinion, I think it's better than both of them, and it's also cheaper. Just saying. I don't think I know a single Canadian who does not like Tim Hortons. And I've brought like some people from America to Canada, and I've made them try Tim Hortons, and they've gotten addicted to it instantly. Like even people who don't drink coffee, they have smoothies and donuts and muffins and all sorts of stuff. Like it's literally the best thing ever, and it's in every day.
Why do you think it's so popular?
I think that it's just very truly Canadian. I mean, there's one every single block for starters, so they're everywhere. But Tim Horton, he was the name of the guy who like started up the business, and it just has a lot of like Canadian history within it, and I feel like a lot of people take pride, like being able to go there and like in their country. Well, for starters, we have a prime minister, not a president. A lot of people get confused with that. It's similar in certain aspects. Like we have like two dominant parties that have like similar views as they do here. But I wouldn't say politics are as, I don't know, you can talk more openly about politics in Canada than you can here. I noticed that very quickly when I came over here, that people don't just talk about politics. It's kind of a very like touchy subject. In Canada, my friends and I would just discuss it openly, like it was no big deal, like it was just a casual conversation type of thing. We weren't really like nervous about it. And a couple of the differences, I know our prime minister can serve for as many terms as we choose to keep them in office for, unlike here where it's only like 8 years max. We for sure, something that our country isn't very proud of is how they treated Native Americans. I actually took a course on that when I was a sophomore, just about like Indigenous studies and how people were treated and how the country's still trying to fix and apologize to their people. And I'm actually part Native American. On my dad's side of the family, we are related to this really famous chief who helped in like the War of 1812. His name was Chief Tecumseh. He's like an old relative. I'm not really sure how related. I just know that we are. So I mean that's like a very like personal subject for me, like taking that class and like learning about like the history and stuff and things that like people don't really talk about. A lot of people don't know about. We do celebrate Thanksgiving in Canada. We just celebrate it a month earlier. So I mean I know that's like something that always interests people.
You had mentioned, I'm gonna get it wrong, pouring syrup into snow.
Yes.
What is that?
Okay. So there's a thing that happens in Quebec. I haven't been, but I've always wanted to go. It's called Venant Carnival, and we've learned about it since we're in like 7th grade, since we have to learn French. Going back history-wise, we still kind of embrace that like French part of us, and I guess we combined the two when Quebec was formed. Quebec is a province in Canada that their primary language is French. The rest of the provinces, all of their primary languages are English, and French is a second language. Legally, we have to learn French in Canada from 4th to 9th grade, so we learn a lot about Venant Carnival and what that's about. It's a huge celebration in Quebec. I believe it happens in February, so it's probably like just ending. And some traditions that they have beaver tails, which is basically like a beaver tail shaped donut, and you can put Nutella on it or like M&Ms or whatever type of toppings you want. It's like one of the most amazing things you'll ever have in your life. And something else, yeah, maple taffy is what it is in English. And basically you just pour really, really hot syrup onto snow, and then it freezes, and you can eat it like it's like rock candy almost. And I always want to try it. It looks really good. I've never like gotten the opportunity to. People always talk about that's like a highlight of the festival.
What was the biggest difference moving from Canada here?
So, cultural differences. My old school was very, very diverse, and Rockbridge is actually more diverse than I was expecting when my parents said I was moving to Missouri. But my old school, let's say, like for example, my graduating class in 8th grade, there was 120 kids, and 11 of them were white. The majority, like at least 75% of my school was Muslim. So on Eid, it was kind of like a tradition for all the kids who like didn't celebrate Eid to still show up to school, because all the other kids would be home with their family celebrating, and there'd be like 5 to 10 students per class, and we all just get together and do games and stuff. So that was always really fun. But yeah, a lot of my friends growing up, they're all from a bunch of different races, so that really like allowed me like exposed me to a bunch of different cultures, and I just think that's like really, really cool. Like my best friend was Indian, my other best friend was Muslim. I had a Vietnamese friend I still talk to today, Chinese friend I still talk to today. Like they're just like, it's just so diverse, and that was just so normal for me. It's really weird when I like would go to a school or like an event and it was all like white people. I thought it was so weird. I was like, where are all the hijabs? Like I'm so used to that. Like it was like so odd to me, you know? Well, if you were to come visit Windsor, like I said, you'd see lots of diversity. Like it's incredible, like how diverse my old city is. Like I said, I brought some of my Americans over the border before. I brought some of my American friends with me across the border before, and they were just like, I was like, do you understand what I've been telling you about how diverse it is? Like it's not quite like it is here. Like Columbia is like a decently diverse place, but like Windsor's on a whole other level. If you were to go to like other areas in Canada, like let's say you were to go to British Columbia, I have never been, but I've heard it's the most beautiful thing ever. Each like province has its own like little special thing that it can give you. Like British Columbia has like all these beautiful mountains and hills, and it's right on the coast. Like the provinces like Manitoba and Saskatchewan, they have like all the prairies, and Ontario is filled with like all the cities. So like Toronto, it's just like a huge, huge city, and it's just like filled with life. Quebec, you get a lot of French. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. I don't actually say A. I don't have that thick of an accent. Apparently, I say beg weird. People make fun of me for that. I say it like it's like I'm begging for something instead of like bag. I don't. Never noticed it till I moved here, but people don't really say A, at least in the southern parts of Canada. The northern parts, you'll get a bit like of a thicker accent. People actually do that. But where I'm from, we were like right across the border from Detroit. We're all very like Americanized. Like it's not, none of us have very thick accents. So when people, like I tell them from Canada, they're like, oh, you don't have much of an accent. I'm like, yeah, I don't. I'm basically from Michigan. Okay, I mentioned the niceness thing earlier. Overall as a country, we're very nice, but not every single Canadian person is the nicest person I've ever met. I can tell you that right now. Listen, it's just, some people aren't really expected to be. Just because weed is legal does not mean that everyone smokes it. That's another one. Food.
What are some of like the staple foods for Canada?
Okay, poutine. That is a huge, huge thing. I'm doing food at Boat Village, and I will have poutine there, but it's basically fries with gravy and cheese curds, and I'm not a huge gravy person, so me personally, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but if you love gravy, then you'll love poutine, because it's just so traditionally Canadian. Like, even if we were just cross the border and go to Michigan, most restaurants would not have poutine. People would not know what we were talking about. Like, it is just a really, like, truly Canadian thing. Almost all the restaurants have their own version of poutine. Like, it's really popular.
Are there any things that young people do that wouldn't have been acceptable in older generations, or that have just evolved from older traditions?
Being honest, I think it's kind of similar to what it is in America with that. Like a lot of our like culture and stuff is like very, very similar to American culture, just because like we're like basically neighbors. So like we have the same like music taste, like we watch the same movies, like things like that. So in that aspect, I'd say it's pretty similar.
What are you most proud of with Canada?
Most proud. Probably just our reputation as a country. Like, I remember my grandma was telling me when I was younger, I had this little stuffed animal, and it had a Canadian flag on it, and she said that if I would ever go across borders to like Poland or like other countries like that, like we were like friends with like during like the World Wars, that they would want to be my friend because I had the Canadian flag. And that always made me so happy, and I always felt like so proud to be part of a country that was able to like help other countries like during the war, and that we were just like very proud of our history.
What is something you wish people from other cultures or other countries would understand about Canada?
I'm very proud of how accepting our country is. I know that there are still issues, and not everyone in our country is accepting, but as a whole, I just love being a country that is just so ethnically diverse and just so like open and welcome to like new cultures and different types of people. And it's just like, especially in the larger cities, there's just so many different types of people that just like live in harmony with each other. And I love that so much about Canada.